Hello everybody and welcome to this month's Anime Paint Night. This month we actually have the main character from the newest Mobile Suit Gundam, Machu, and her mobile suit, the Gundam GQuuuuuuX. Yes, I know that's literally how you pronounce it. Now, inside your kit you should have this line art here, a reference sheet, the paint palette with the paintbrush if you requested it. Make sure you get some water for the watercolors, but outside of that, I think that's it. So let's get started. Alrighty, now I'm not gonna lie to you, this one, it was pretty lengthy doing this one. I'm glad that the videos are sped up and such. So what I essentially do this time is I choose one of the characters to work on. So I decided to just work on the Gundam GQuuuuuuX first. So first we're just gonna go for the black and kind of like darken up the rest of the visor portion of the Gundam GQuuuuuuX. I have my phone out because I don't have the reference sheet printed out, but you have the reference sheet. But that's kind of why I have it out here. In the digital art program, I kind of shaded a little bit already on the left side of the visor, but I really wanted to make sure that the other side was not colored in digitally so that we could have something to make it a little bit more distinct. Then we're going to kind of go for the mask. But just to be transparent with you, just like every anime paint night, you do not have to follow along perfectly. You do not have to match the colors or anything like that. And I understand the Gundam GQuuuuuuX is a very detailed machine. It's a detailed thing to color. So take your time with this one, and you can feel free to make it as unique and colorful as you want it to be different and such. It's totally fine. But I'm going to try to stick with being accurate and such. But it's not the same as when we do more humanoid characters where we're able to, okay, we're going to start with the skin tone, then we're going to start with the hair and stuff. The Gundam GQuuuuuuX is, I'm just choosing which spot makes sense for me and kind of allows me to see the difference between different sections of the mobile suit so that it's a little bit more clear for me to color on through. But all that said, if you are someone who's never watched a Mobile Suit Gundam anime at all, I actually highly recommend watching Gundam GQuuuuuuX. The actual reason why is because it actually kind of retcons the entire original Mobile Suit Gundam. It starts from the very beginning, and then it just kind of flips it on its head. So you don't need to necessarily know everything that happened prior in the 1970s, early 80s adaptation of the Mobile Suit Gundam series, right? You can just actively just jump into this new story and be thrown into a wonderful, vibrant, and deep world. There's a lot of lore in this show. There's a lot of lore. Promise that. So yeah, a lot of mobile suits, but also a lot of human beings there. A lot of motivations. It's really cool. But we'll talk about that a little bit more as we continue coloring on. I am definitely a fan of the Mobile Suit Gundam series. I've watched the original ones in the form of the compilation movies on Netflix and such. But I've also watched a great deal of different types of Mobile Suit Gundams. So when this one came out, I was super happy. They launched this one in theaters first, so I think they played the first maybe 3 to 4 episodes, and what an experience. Went and saw it with my wife and my friend. Alright, let's go to the next portion though. Alrighty, now, let's continue on with the mobile suit and such. We're probably going to go for the eyes now. I can definitely say for the visual design of the Gundam GQuuuuuuX, it is definitely one of the more unique designs for a mobile suit in the franchise in terms of the main characters Gundam. It looks very modern, looks very interesting. It almost kind of looks a little bit villainous. Definitely calling back to Gundam Barbatos from Iron-Blooded Orphans. Gundam Barbatos, despite it being the main character's mobile suit, it has the air of being like very dangerous, very like foreboding, you know? It has a crest like all mobile suits have, or rather all Gundams have, but they're more akin to like golden horns. Same thing with the Gundam GQuuuuuuX. We have the red horns, but you know we haven't called it yet, but we shall get there. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. I like how, as I've done this one, I like seeing the different callbacks to the original Mobile Suit Gundam colors and such. The original Mobile Suit Gundam colors were blue, red, and white with like yellow accents and such. And we kind of still have that. It's just they take more liberty with the blues. Like there's probably like 2 or 3 different shades of blue. We have, instead of the yellow, the orange, and then we have the red very prominent, and the white kind of blends in a little bit with the blue as well. So we do have the colors, it's just distributed differently. Let's move on. All right, now speaking of the crest and the horns, let's actually start doing that one instead. But yeah, I really think that Mobile Suit Gundam GQuuuuuuX, I hope I'm even saying it right. The title. I know I'm saying the Mobile Suit right, but the title. But I really think that it does a good job at setting the stage for a whole new experience for people who may not necessarily be familiar with the franchise. But it still does call back patterns and tropes that the Mobile Suit Gundam series is most certainly known for. Namely, Machu here, our main character, our pilot, right? She is following the Gundam tradition of the main character usually being someone who is very youthful, someone who is thrust into responsibility. When we say thrust into responsibility, it means that they weren't really looking for it, you know? They kind of were in a position where they had no choice. This was their only option. But to be perfectly honest anyway, there are some Mobile Suit animes that instead of it being like back to the corner, you have to do this, sometimes it's just sheer curiosity and such. But I definitely think for Machu's case, it was definitely out of... I think it was a combination between necessity and curiosity. But yeah, I'll just leave it at that for now. But yeah, definitely following that young main character thrust into that responsibility and kind of growing up type of vibe. We'll talk a little bit more about that in the next segment. But just know Gundam is not an easy anime to watch sometimes. Now, what do I mean by it's not always an easy anime to watch? So, Mobile Suit Gundam historically talks a lot about what it means to be a young person, a child, or what have you in war. And not only just like, oh, the war is happening, but I can still sleep in my bed and life goes on. This is the perspective of someone who is young, thrust into the role of responsibility, not really wanting to be here, and then coming to terms with the fact that they're on the front lines. The front lines and stuff like that. Seeing their friends and their family go through terrible things and stuff like that, and trying to still push on and fight. Mobile Suit Gundam is no stranger to talking about that. And I wonder how Mobile Suit Gundam GQuuuuuuX is going to handle that. The prologue and the following episodes, they kind of, I feel as though they belie a anime that's going to have some hard moments, but I don't know how far they're going to necessarily go. I truly don't. I truly don't know. And I don't think that it's a requirement for there to be war and suffering for a Mobile Suit Gundam to be good. I just think I have a feeling that they're going to bring up some stuff that are a little bit harder to swallow for sure. But I really do hope you take a gander. But let's talk about where you can watch it. Like I said, the original U.S. The original United States showing of it was in theaters for a limited amount of time, and it showed the prologue and maybe like one or two episodes with it and such. So for now, though, now that it's like out internationally, you could actually go on Amazon Prime and watch it there, which is something that I intend to do with my wife and such when it is the right time. But no, yeah, I really look forward to it. And I hope you all get a chance to watch it too. Now, as we're concluding here with the GQuuuuuuX, this is the last part of the GQuuuuuuX that we're going to do before we move on to Machu. And you can kind of see where you have the blues, very, very, very radiant blue and stuff like that by like the shoulders or the neckline. And then you have the lighter blue, which almost kind of serves as the role as the white in every other mobile suit and stuff like that. There's no clean whites and such. But yeah, you see the patterns, definitely. And now that I see it colored, I'm just like, oh yeah, wow, this really is still a Gundam, you know? So let's go ahead and move on to our next section so we can talk a little bit more about Machu. Well, not too much. I don't want to spoil anything, but we can go ahead and start talking a little bit about her. Okay, see you soon. Alrighty, now it's time to work on our wonderful pilot, Machu. And we can talk a little bit about her, like her personality a little bit. So, Machu's personality is, I would like to say, curious and straightforward. She definitely ends up in situations where the average everyday person has no business getting ended up into. She herself kind of doesn't necessarily want to be in some of these situations, but she has a gift. She is one of the rare people who are actually able to tap into the Gundam GQuuuuuuX's true potential and such, right? Effectively, for lack of a better term, she's not the owner of the GQuuuuuuX. She truly is just borrowing it. And if it wasn't for that borrowing situation, I don't really know where this mobile suit would be. I don't even know if the pilots will be able to handle it or if even able to like keep it unscathed. That's just my observation. But regardless, Machu is definitely sprightly for sure. She is not outwardly friendly, but then again, to her defense, I would definitely say that her environment is working against her a little bit. She doesn't necessarily have a lot of friends. I would say that she kind of keeps to herself for sure. But if she connects with you and she vibes with you, she'll vibe back. She'll definitely vibe back. Machu is pretty cool. I like her. Yeah, wow, yeah, I really like her hair. Now that again, this happens a lot at Anime Paint Night, where once you start, like, actually doing the coloring of the character, and the fact that we have a limited color palette of 12, you're kind of able to appreciate a little bit more the color choices that they use. I really like how Machu's hair is literally like a strawberry and such, like in the actual, like line art of her and stuff like that, it definitely feels more like neon and what have you and such, but just on its own, very strawberry-like, because like we have the main portion red and stuff like that. Then you have the green highlights, which can be considered like, the green stem of the strawberry. but then you also have the pink edges and stuff like that, which just really does call back to a more, like, you think about something sweet, you think about fruit when you see like the pink and the red together blending like that. I like how it gradients at the end on the official art as well. It's very nice, very nice. But yeah, I love Machu's hair. It's super cool. I like it a lot. But that said, though, it's about time for our next segment, so I shall see you there. Alright, moving on to the eyes. Now, Machu's eyes are very unique. Machu's eyes are light green, and again, our palette is very limited. So what I did is I saw the pink highlights in her eyes, so I decided to start with the pink, and then I started to opt for the green. And as I'm doing this, I'm noticing that the pink really responds well to the green, and I'm using that to blend all the way through for both of the eyes, which is really, really nice. So then after the eyes, we are going to go to eyebrows, and then we'll move to the blush, right? And then after the blush, if I'm right, I believe we go towards our skin tone next. And I could be wrong, but let me see. Is that the skin tone? It is, yes. So we're going to go for the brown, and then I'm going to, as you saw, I kind of like rub my paintbrush on the palette itself just to make sure it's light as possible, just to make it a little bit more accurate to the fact that her skin tone is more fair and such, right? So what I do is I take that dried brown paint and such, and then I get a lot of the eggshell or the beige and such, and that actually helps me blend the skin tone that I used before into the actual character. It's actually very nice. Definitely, for sure. I think that we've had to do this a lot for our anime paint nights because of our limited palette, but I'm glad that it is a method that we can use for sure. Yeah, definitely. I really think it's valuable. So that said, let's talk a little bit more about some of the other mobile suits, or the other mobile suit Gundams, rather. So starting with the first one kind of features a gentleman named Amuro Ray, very similar to Machu, youngster thrown into like a battle that is, lack of a better term, life or death, and he essentially gets recruited into a whole kind of militia to actually stop the big bad event, essentially. Let's take a pin and move on. Alrighty, now let's start actually moving towards the tie and such like that. It's a little striped tie, so we just go red and black and such. But back to the original Mobile Suit Gundam. Basically, he gets recruited into this militia that takes its tiny in comparison ship all the way from Earth, all the way to the furthest space colony. Right now in this world, there are space colonies where people actually live in peace. They just kind of live their lives and such. But they were made by humans, which means, unfortunately, that even the great colonies are not, they are not necessarily away from war. Some people like to think that they are, for sure, because of the fact that, they're so far away from Earth, and Earth is seen in some mobile suits as, kind of worn down, washed up, But, genuinely speaking, if it was made by humans and it harbors humans, it has the potential to follow the same patterns, unfortunately, as Earth and such. So now we're going to work on the dress shirt here. I go for the little sky blue, and then I add green to try to match it as much as I can. It ends up being a little bit too dark to my liking, but I do like how it turns out. I really do. But that said, one of the other popular ones is I mentioned this one before, but it is Mobile Suit Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans. My first, sorry, my apologies. My second anime paint night ever featured Gundam Barbatos, actually. And it was just Barbatos. It wasn't the pilot or anything like that. I think in the future, if I continue to do like the occasional Gundam, I definitely want to make sure the pilot is reflected in the piece, like I've done here with Machu. But basically, Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans features a main cast that is basically they're young adults slash teenagers or younger, and they are currently contracted to a group of like seedy adults and stuff like that to just do manual labor. It is what it is. But the leader of those teams is always thinking of the big picture. Always thinking of the big picture. So his job, he's going to break them out. Not only break them out, but take control of the facility that they've been harbored in and stuff like that, right? But the thing about the main the thing about the main leader, the main spokesman and such, he's not really great with like actual physical stuff and everything, right? But his best friend, Nikatsuki, is truly a prodigy when it comes to piloting and everything in between. And together with them, they actually are able to recover a mobile suit that was long lost, deactivated in an ancient war, but now they're able to bring it back to life and take back their lives. So that's pretty much Iron-Blooded Orphans. GQuuuuuuX, excellent anime, highly recommend it. I cannot wait to watch more of it. And I believe, even though I can't really see what you did before, I believe that you all did a fantastic and great job with your piece. Add some creative flares. I added these like little laser streaks and stuff like that just for like creative effect and stuff. I just thought it was cute. But that said, I hope you enjoyed. I hope to see you all for July's anime paint night. Sorry, August's anime paint night. And just be easy and remember you all are tremendous artists. So, this is Mr. Kelton signing out. Bye-bye, y'all.